So early season is very special because the deer haven't been pressured yet. That's why we let youths and veterans go out during the Liberty hunt and harvest a deer. This is why we get out there early, because deer are not used to smelling hunters, and that's what changes. So September 1st is the first opportunity that you have to get onto public land and hang your stands. You're supposed to remove them at the end of the season every year. So all this intrusion, all this scent, deer are starting to change their patterns. Now opening day is special because that's the first morning deer will actually encounter hunters in the stands. They'll actually smell and get pressured and bumped and pushed, and that's the big change, okay? It's not just the days getting shorter and the temperatures changing, that plays a factor too, but it's a lot of the pressure, and the food is changing. So where do we find these deer early season? So you want to make sure that you get out there the first few days of the season. Today is opening day, and I will be out there this afternoon. Why didn't I go out this morning? Well, early season bucks, the testosterone levels they're not high enough where it's charging them to move around all day, seeking estrus does. Right now they're bedding really close to their feeding, and often hunters will be getting out to their stand early morning, bumping these bucks, educating them, and making it so they're not able to get that buck. So you want to make sure you go in there without them knowing you're going to get in there. Opening afternoon is probably best to connect on a big buck. Now if you want to go out there and shoot a doe, you can absolutely go out there in the morning, probably encounter a doe, even over a watering hole, a food source of some sort, and we'll talk about food sources. If you have a buck coming through on your trail cameras in the morning time, then absolutely get into your stand and ambush that deer and fill your tag. But that's a rarity. So just know that early season, in most cases, you're going to be hunting afternoon spots. This morning, I slept in. I took care of some chores here around the house. I'm actually still getting my clothes all dried and ready to go, and I'll be out there this afternoon. We're getting a little bit of rain, but I'm ready for a rainy sit, and hopefully we're going to see this buck come in early season. When it's raining and the weather's bad, deer in most cases show up even earlier, so be sure to get in nice and early opening day. That's your shot at a good one. Now with these days getting shorter and the weather changing and all the hunters going into the woods hanging their stands here in Michigan, we have to wait until September 1st to hang our stands. At the end of the season we remove our stands. This is all the encounters and the pressure. It's not until opening day is when these deer are actually getting bumped and encountering hunters in the trees in the morning time. So that's when it applies even more pressure. These deer start to walk around during the daytime even less. In the afternoon, I like to get in at least a couple hours early, well before sunset, because I want to have a couple hours before sunset and then a couple hours of sitting previous to that. Now, towards the end of the season, they're going to be more pressured. Maybe you'll see them more around dusk and dawn. Okay, so what kind of places do you hunt? My favorite absolute place to hunt early season, you probably have heard me say it before, is apple trees. Deer absolutely love apples. That's a great place to hang trail cameras. Now, if you can get in near apple trees and encounter where deer are exiting and entering the field so you can get downwind of that travel route, then that's a terrific way to ambush a good deer. Now, again, the problem with hunting food sources in the morning is you're bumping deer out of the field and you're pressuring them. Same thing with hunting food sources in the evening. When you're leaving that, deer may be out in the field. A good way to get deer off the field for you is to text a buddy, have them come out. My wife and I often get the John Deere and bring it out to the field and get the deer to leave that way. That won't be as detrimental as getting down from the tree and walking out into the field or trying to sneak out of there. They'll know a predator's near and they'll stay away. Another terrific food source early season is white oaks. White oaks are rounded leaves. You can spot them. They kind of look like rounded little moose antlers. And these are lower in tannins. They're tastier. They drop acorns every year versus the red oaks. And the red oaks look just like this, except they have pointy leaves. I think I have a red oak around here. Yeah, here's a red oak. I have red oaks and white oaks in this area. And you'll just see that they're pointy. That's the difference right there. Plus the acorns are a little shinier. These are a little bit more flatter and they kind of look like little pumpkins. And the deer will devour them. They'll actually compete for these acorns. So if you find some acorns, start looking around. Maybe you can find a rub line. Now rub lines are a little deceiving. A lot of people like to see what side of the tree is the rub on, and you can kind of, by consistency, you can kind of get a direction of where the deer are going. Some hunters don't believe in that, but I think regardless, tracks and rub lines, it's a terrific way to see a travel route and get downwind of that travel route to ambush the deer. So white oaks are a terrific food source. They're almost as good as apples. If you can find them in the woods with a lot of cover, they possibly could be even better than apples, because that's what deer want. They want food with security. So if you can find these, try your best to set up appropriately. Now, you may even see some early season scrapes, some community scrapes, if you can get downwind of these. Another terrific source to hunt, especially when it's hot, is water holes. Water holes, especially small water holes from far distances from the parking area. If there's no other water in the area, these are going to be a hot spot. And the smaller the watering hole, the better, because you're going to be able to get a shot off. A big water source like a pond, I mean, the deer could simply come in on the other side of the pond and you wouldn't get a shot. So small watering holes are ideal. In the past, I have hunted right on the edge, on the watering hole, basically right over the watering hole, hiding behind the tree trunk. I simply peek out and take my shot. So great source for hot days. You're gonna have to dress appropriately, bring some water, layer correctly. A lot of times I'll bring a light coat, because the last 45 minutes is usually really cold. It's dropped off maybe even 20 degrees and you're pretty chilly. So you can throw that on and you can hunt, be comfortable to make your shot. So the idea is to ambush these deer on the way to their food source, water source, and using rub lines. When you see rubs and then you see another rub, a little bit farther you see another rub, this is a rub line. And you can kind of spot big bucks by, depending on how big of a tree is this rub. Is it really frayed? Because certain antlers with stickers and just the way the antler is, it will make a different kind of rub. Like, if we all go crazy when we see that cedar that is just all frayed up, that big thick cedar that big bucks are rubbing. You know, now big bucks rub small trees too, but when you encounter bushes that are just destroyed and a lot of branches that are broken, frayed tree trunks on big tree trunk trees, 6 inches or bigger. I mean, this is a great indicator that that's a big buck that left that. You know, set up downwind, you'll spot a big thick bedding area, and you can estimate that the buck is coming from that thick bedding area to this food source, on a secure straight line. Now, of course, you can set up, observe, and then close the distance if you know that the deer are actually using a different route after you've sat and observed. You know, you can close the deal on this in just a matter of a couple days. You want to move quick, because these deer are going to encounter other hunters and they may change their pattern quickly. So be sure to get this done in the next couple days. If you can, take a couple days to hunt these deer, and you can close the deal. Some additional food sources that you may encounter deer going from bedding, traveling to these food sources, are beans. Beans is a great food source where you'll find a lot of deer on the secure corner. Maybe there's a swale, there's a ditch, and you'll see deer using this for security, eating at the lowest point of the field. Check out these areas. Alfalfa, clover, these are all going to be a hot spot this time of year before it gets too cold where they just stop growing. You know, they make all sorts of calls and they are really cool. You got your bleats and your grunts and your inhales, your exhales, you got your scents and your rattling antlers. And you know what, here in Michigan, it always depends on the property. Public land, there's a lot of hunters. So to go out there and just slam some antlers together isn't really realistic. And you'll see these monster buck videos and you'll see a lot of this information and that stuff that people want to relive or mimic is not going to work in our Michigan high pressured woods. It's basically going to do the opposite, and it's going to spook deer and push deer away. So maybe once in a while you'll get a doe or another deer to investigate, but often it's too much too early. And this time of year I'm actually tickling. I have these special little antlers that I use, 4-point on one side, 3-point on the other, and I just tickle them together because that's what deer are doing right now. They're sparring, they're establishing the dominance, they're figuring out their hierarchy. You'll see bucks tickling their antlers, they'll go back to feeding. That's what's happening right now. So a little bit of tickling, some light sparring sequences, 10 seconds, 20 seconds at the most, is all you want to do and put the antlers back down. That kind of thing is going to build curiosity, so they're going to investigate these, but at the same time they're cautious too. So when you're slamming them together, it's not that time of year where bucks are fighting over does. Does aren't in estrus yet, so that wouldn't make any sense. So as much as you want to smack those antlers together, hold off, and wait until a little bit later into the season. We'll talk about when to do that. Just a really soft contact, grunt where deer will say, hey, there's a deer. It's basically saying, I'm a deer, come over here. So, but the reason why I don't even do that, usually I just put all my cards, I bet on that spot and try to let the deer come through, because when you make a lot of calls, even light calls early season, deer are going to zone in on that. You're in a cafeteria and you're hearing all these conversations, but you can't really hear them. But if somebody says, did you hear what that person said? And you actually tried to eavesdrop and kind of heighten your sense and focus in on that. That's what deer are doing. They're focusing in on their hearing. They're focusing in on their sense of smell. And they're really coming in on high alert. But if you don't do that, they'll just continue their way through. They're just relaxed. They may not even investigate or be alerted by a little noise or something, because they haven't even started to look or investigate. That's my point, is just keep them in their natural state. And that's why I don't make a lot of calls early season. If they come through on high alert, they're more likely to spook. So that's why I just try to encounter an ambush. And now isn't the time to make a lot of calls. You just want to be subtle out there. Now is the time to, because of the hot weather, you want to concentrate a lot on watering holes and afternoon hunts. And watering holes, hot days keep a lot of the hunters out of the woods. And that's a great opportunity. If you know how to hunt hot weather, which is water, that's where you want to be. And usually bucks, after sitting a long afternoon, they want to get up and go right to the watering hole. And they'll even hit them in the morning too. So on hot days, hot evenings, all night, they're going to hit them. They're going to move twice at night. They're going to move in the morning. They're going to move at midday, and they're going to move in the afternoon. So, and any one of those times, they could be hitting a watering hole if it's hot weather. So, take advantage of that when there's less hunters in the woods. Hunt over watering holes when it's hot early season. That's a great strategy. So be sure to layer up correctly. Don't go out there with your winter gear. Be sure to dress as lightly as possible. And even if you have to, don't wear your carbon jacket until you get to your stand. Wrap it around your waist, or just maybe wear a light t-shirt. Try to set up where take your showers. Of course, take your showers before. Folks, you absolutely have to take scent control into account, when we are hunting an animal that has a super nose. So you can try to stay downwind, but it never fails. Deer sometimes circle around you, or they'll figure out a way to get downwind of you. Unless you're hunting off a cliff or with a big structure like a barn behind you, deer are going to get downwind of you. Pay attention to your access and your exiting, because deer are going to smell you on the way in and the way out. Most often hunters just care about once they're on their stand, and they'll spook all the deer on their way to their stand with the wind. So make sure you're taking that into account, and you're accessing your stand with the wind in your face as well. And when you get to your stand, try your best to hang as high as possible. If you're high enough, they're not going to smell you as well, and they may not even smell you. So these are all terrific strategies for hot weather when you're sweating and you're uncomfortable. So you gotta make sure you go about it correctly. And I may be mentioning things that go against these big videos and productions, and a lot of that stuff is filmed on managed hunts, and sadly a lot of these hunts are not realistic. They don't apply to our kind of hunting when we're hunting pressured deer that encounter hunters on a regular basis. We have to hunt them correctly if we want to up our chances. And that's what I'm trying to do with my videos, is to make videos to help hunters connect on big bucks. And if you guys have any comments, if you don't like the way I'm doing something, if you like the way I'm doing something, please leave a comment. And if you want to hear a video on a certain topic, I just had a request for a video on all the new rules and just all the different hunting seasons in Michigan. I'm going to do a video on that. So thank you so much for reaching out. And you can find me at bobby@therabbitrycenter.com. That's my email. We also run a Rabbitry channel. Be sure to check that out if you're interested in raising rabbits. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you on the next video.